Hello cyberspace, my name is Paradox. I'm sure at least some of you have heard of a little anime studio known as Kyoto Animation. When you think of this studio, what are the first things that come to your mind? Is it something like this, or maybe this? Amidst a collection of phenomenal titles lies one that I don't see talked about much, one very important to me, and one that recently hit a significant milestone. Welcome to the first edition of my media review series, which may or may not actually turn into a series, a review of my favorite anime of all time, Beyond the Boundary. Before I proceed with this video, I'd like to open by saying this is going to be several minutes of me gushing about a series that's very important to me. I don't have a whole lot to add to it in itself, and most of this script in its nature is going to be very personal for some random guy you happen to stumble across while journeying online. That's why I'm doubling this script as a 400 subscriber special for my channel. Thank you, and more on that later. If that's all not to your taste, this may not be the video for you. To keep this from being a podcast, in a sense, I'm going to put some unrelated gameplay in the background of this video. I will occasionally put some images on screen related to what I'm talking about, but for the most part, that'll be it. Without further ado, time to get on with what is probably the most biased review you'll ever find on the internet ever. Released originally as a light novel on June 9th, 2012 after winning an honorable mention in the 2011 Kyoto Animation Writing Competition, the series was adapted into an anime that started airing October 2nd, 2013, 10 years ago as of the date this video is uploaded. My timing was off, it was yesterday as of the day this was uploaded. Following the story of Akihito Kanbara, a half-Yumo who, thanks to his special circumstances, is completely immortal, and Mirai Kuriyama, the last of the Blood Clan Spirit World warriors who is determined to kill Akihito. This series tackles romance, comedy, fantasy, and more, all in one 12-episode package, plus a movie, and in my opinion does so perfectly. As strange as it is to say about an anime of all things, among the roller coaster this series takes you on through its lovably written characters and seat-gripping plot, this specific piece takes the cake as not only the series to properly introduce me to the world of anime, but as one that has had an impact on me as a person. As cliche or stupid as all of that sounds, a part of this review of sorts, and my love for this series as a whole, is going to tackle just how much media can mean to people. Be it music, novels, manga, anime, YouTube, games, anything you consume, I believe everybody has one piece of media that's stuck with them since the moment they found it, because in its essence, that's what media is here to do. But without getting too off topic, let's break this series down in a more proper reviewing fashion. For this review, I plan to tackle the story, visuals, and sound. In my opinion, the three pillars that make any anime series what it is. I plan to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but if this is a series you wish to watch completely blind, now's the time to click off this video and do that before coming back and watching. Does anybody really do that? I see videos like this say that all the time, but do people actually leave, consume a piece of media just to watch a video, then come back to the video? Either way, you can take that statement in itself and what you've seen so far as my honest review that I think you will enjoy this series. You, no matter who you are. Starting where any good review should, the story. As I briefly mentioned above, I think the story of the series is absolutely phenomenal. As incredibly biased as I know I am on this topic, I think everything from the pacing, characterization, emotion, scene progression, development, progression, scenes, emotion, and development is absolutely perfect throughout your watch of this. You get a little bit of all the good stuff, sprinkled in a small enough package to make it extremely easily consumable. Be it romance, action, fantasy, comedy, and hell, there's even a little bit of idol in there for those of you into that. This sounds like a recipe for disaster, too much of a good thing and all that, but believe me when I tell you, it is all blended and executed so well that it sent me down the rabbit hole of this hobby that I've still not managed to climb out of. But even now, 10 years later, this series still stands tall as the crown of my personal favorites. There are very little series that I can honestly say have something for everyone, and this is the strongest of them all. Even if you don't enjoy the package as a whole, I honestly think you'll find something throughout the story beats of this anime that you will enjoy. While not perfect in its essence, what it does do, it does flawlessly. But the train of me gushing doesn't simply stop there. In order to make a compelling story, you need good characters, and oh boy, does this have good characters. Not only is the cast of this series fittingly compelling and phenomenal to fit the universe it's told in, I think it meets the standard of having something for everyone. Whether you're into an adorable mascot-esque character, a bro-esque character, a mysterious older sister type character, mature characters, or goofy characters there for relieving the plot, I genuinely believe there will be one character throughout this show that you will find some personal enjoyment out of, and all of those examples didn't even touch the two protagonists. From the first scene to the last, there wasn't a character throughout this show that I didn't enjoy to bits. Even on the weaker end of the cast, everyone caught my interest in one way or another. I know that's throwing a wide blanket, but I have to force myself not to go into things too much for the sake of spoiling. I think if you're anything like me, you'll find yourself really enjoying the setup and story this series puts on the table, and it'll leave you yearning for more even after the last moment. To no surprise of anyone who's gotten to this point in this video, I think the story of this anime is worth the time of anyone and everyone. While it might not connect with you like it did me, I still think at a base level there's some point of enjoyment to be had when consuming this series. But for the sake of this video not being 20 minutes, let's tackle the visuals. Which, let's be honest, visuals need no discussion. Love them or hate them, we're talking about Kyoto Animation here. A studio that, from the beginning, has made their mark by producing some of the most beautiful animation in the Eastern animation scene. And this series is no exception to that rule. Fluid, well choreographed, spectacularly thought out, every detail of this series shines bright with Kyoto Animation's signature style. If you've been paying attention to the video portion of this video, as weird as that is to say, up to this point, I've been sure to throw some examples of what I mean both from the studio and this show specifically. It really is hard to describe something like animation with simple words, but in a single word, this series is truly beautiful. But I'm not done there. Continuing on this topic, the visuals do a really fantastic job of building the world around them. The events that transpire are just insane enough that they fit, but just grounded enough that they feel impactful. As with any anime, visuals are half the story. What you're looking at is a very important part of what you're consuming. That's why I haven't been making a whole lot of these style videos. The struggle to make them visually appealing and all that. Shameless promotion for the other videos in this sort of style that are on my channel. But unlike my YouTube series, everything in this anime is gorgeous. Even the moments of downtime that objectively don't matter as much as the hard-hitting, plot-heavy moments are just as visually appealing and memorable as the ones that do matter. Furthermore, some of the best animation I've seen from any show ever, hands down, has come from Beyond the Boundary. That's not a surprise coming from Kyoto Animation, but what might just be a surprise is this anime's place in the upper echelon of everything they've ever done for me personally. I put it up there with the likes of Sound Euphonium or Violet Evergarden. And while it might objectively not be the actual best work they've ever done, I think some of the visuals in this are extremely overlooked and display some of the most talented animation I've seen in all of anime ever, much less from Kyoto. That, of course, is only half the coin, the other half being sound. Luckily for me and the entertainment value of me talking, this is a much easier topic to tell you about. That was a sentence. In the grand scheme, I break sound into 3 categories, at least for anime specifically. Those being general sound design, soundtrack usage, and voice acting. Do keep in mind that while I may be presenting like a professional, I have no idea about anything related to the production of anything. I mean, look at the video you're watching. Take everything with a heavy grain of salt as far as me being knowledgeable goes. I am, after all, just a reviewer and an enjoyer of this genre. Starting with the easiest in sound design to talk about, I think the best kind of sound design is the kind that fits. As awkward of wording as that is, think about it for a moment. Nothing is worse than sound design that just doesn't feel right or takes you out of a moment. You want the sound of something to blend into what you're seeing on screen. Can you guess where I'm going with this? I think Beyond the Boundary tackles this masterfully. From beginning to end, the sounds of the world are immersive and captivating, keeping you in the visuals and stuck in what you're seeing on screen. Simple and effective as that. Not only that, but moments that shouldn't matter as much seemed way more impactful and stuck with me way more just because the sound design was really good. Next, the topic of OST. When I tell you this soundtrack stuck with me, I really mean it. I mean it so much that I paid way too much money to have a physical copy of it shipped overseas to me. Whimsical, mysterious, captivating, and befitting of the story beats that play out through the series. The only crime this OST commits is not being accessible anywhere online, at least not anywhere that I've been able to find. I won't go as far as to say I think about it every day or anything crazy like that, but the sounds of the world you're in, while watching this show will really stick with you, gaining your interest and suspense when needed, and playing perfectly into both the comedy and romance sprinkled throughout the series as a whole, not to mention the vocal music used throughout the series, which is a cut above the rest. Not only my favorite that I've heard in any anime ever, but so good that they're still an integral part of my liked music playlist. And you just listened to all of that gushing without even mention of voice acting. As with any good anime, characters bring the story to life, and voice acting is a very important part of that. I think the characters really come alive from the script and performance of the VAs. Take that from someone who's on a very amateur level tried to do voice acting themselves. The talent and expression shown throughout this series is absolutely phenomenal. I've personally only ever watched this series in its original Japanese, so I can't attest to English or any other dubbed performance, but if you do as I did and take this one in the native language, I promise you won't be disappointed. If you didn't already gather that this series stuck with me, some of the more hard-hitting and even more casual moments throughout this show stuck with me hard. So hard that I will go as far as to say I still think about them to this day. Voice acting in a show is a given. If the voices are bad, the show is probably going to be bad. But having voicing that's so well done, it stays with you and adds a whole new dimension to the already phenomenal and charming cast of the series that's well befitting of it is something special. Overall, I say with knowingly extremely biased words, my enjoyment of the series was immense. So immense that even now, 10 years later, it's still my favorite anime I've ever watched. Hands down. It's one that really stuck with me, and one I think a lot of people overlook. Kyoto Animation has some absolute titans in the anime universe, and I think this is one of, if not their most overlooked work. It has all the charm of Kyoto's usual stuff and more. It doesn't fall flat in some of the areas I've seen other works of theirs fall flat in, and it doesn't stick to the usual tropes they fall under if you're worried about anything like that. It does what it came here to do, which is tell a phenomenal story through and through, simple and clean. It is to this day one of the most interesting shows I've ever watched, and is still probably my favorite piece of media that I've ever consumed across the board. I can't say enough how highly I recommend you check out this series. While it may not actually be for everyone, it was very much for me. So much so that I wanted to make a full-ass script and review to gush my feelings about it in the most spoiler-free amateur way I know how to. And to smoothly transition back to that in itself, let me know what you think about this kind of video. I'm throwing my neck out a bit and trying something a little like what I've done before and a little unlike anything I've done before. But if it catches your interest, maybe I'll make this a series of its own. And that's going to do it for this video. Happy 10 years to Beyond the Boundary. And here's to another 10 of this still being my favorite piece of media of all time. And thank you for watching and getting me to 400 subscribers. I didn't talk about it much throughout this video, and I didn't really mention it aside from in the description of another, but it means the world to me. The fact that I can talk into my mic or mostly play games and there's even a little audience that's paying attention to that is really something special and something a lot of people strive to do, so I'm very lucky to have a platform to do it on. I really enjoy this little hobby I've accrued, and you guys really motivate and push me to do it more and to try reaching my hands out into things I haven't exactly done before. Your motivation pushes me to keep making stuff, which includes videos like this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And thank you again for watching this video, especially if you made it this far. I still don't have an outro. You ready to read the cheesiest script you've ever read in your life? Alright, let's do this.